India on average grew 6.6%, which is a very nice growth rate. But if you look at employment growth, it was under 2%. If you look at India's projections in terms of population growth, between now and 2030, India will have to create anywhere between 60 million to 148 million additional jobs cumulatively over this period, right? So it's already in 2024 right now. So it's a short period of time, it creates a lot of jobs. If you look at India's GDP growth, for instance, at the decade of the 2010s, so from 2010 to just before the pandemic, India on average grew 6.6%, which is a very nice growth rate. But if you look at employment growth, it was under 2%. So it is indeed the case, and compared to its other G20 economies and other G20 emerging market economies, growth in India has been much less in terms of employment driven, much more intensive in terms of capital. And so the question is, how can one change that? And this is a question to ask. So I think we have to step back and make a few points. First, you want to make sure that the policies that are in place are not penalizing firms from hiring workers. And an ongoing piece of reforms has been on the labor market. And this is a point I made earlier, which is that some important labor codes were passed in 2019, 2020, but those have yet to be implemented. And so anything that can be done by the center in terms of regulation, but also in terms of the center being able to incentivize the states to implement those labor codes would be helpful to make sure that you can, that it's attractive for firms to hire workers. The other issue that comes up is in terms of the general quality of the workforce, in terms of the level of skills that exist. It is now a long-standing problem that there is a skill mismatch in the workforce, and therefore, investing it firstly, just starting by revamping education in India, making sure that people have more years of education and better quality education. It will not deliver results instantly. It will take time, but that absolutely needs fixing now. Otherwise, we are perennially stuck in the situation of a workforce that's not sufficiently skilled. Third, you need more general corporate investment, private investment in India. So if you look at public investment, it's been going strong. If you look at private investment, if you look at the component that's by households in real estate, that's going strong. But if you look at corporate investment, that is not doing as well as it should be for an economy that's growing at 4-7%. So there, in addition to these issues that I mentioned before, improving the ease of doing business, improving the regulatory environment, including in terms of tax issues, all of that is going to be very helpful. But this is absolutely important, that given, if you look at India's projections in terms of population growth, between now and 2030, India will have to create anywhere between 60 million to 148 million additional jobs cumulatively over this period, right? It's already in 2024 right now. So it's a short period of time, it will create a lot of jobs. Sometimes the conversation is, well, can we do that by encouraging manufacturing? Can we do that by encouraging services? But just given the scale of what is needed, it's going to require kind of basic reforms in terms of all the areas I mentioned, including land and so on, to be able to get all these sectors going, because that's the only way one can generate these many jobs, so that you can get workers in the rural India to be able to get jobs in urban India. That's going to you're going to have to raise productivity in agriculture. That's going to be important too. So I think this is an important challenge for the country.